Some of you have started our course without seeing the introduction, and it sits on the Math Binder's early pages. It's called Introduction, Barriers to Success. Please look along if you have the binder, but even if you don't, these might be explained well here. I'm Mark Stewart Greenstein, the director of Ivy Bound, and these three barriers are barriers that we want to make sure aren't barriers to you, the Ivy Bound student. Barrier one, you think of yourself as a victim. The victim says, ooh, the SAT, I'm scared. Or, ooh, the SAT, I don't know what to expect. Here's why neither of these are appropriate. You do know what to expect, or you will, because the SAT is very good to students in this way. They give many sample tests, and the real test is going to be, by law in some states, they call them truth in testing laws. The SAT can't be dramatically different from what they've previewed to the public. So it will have different questions, but they will have the same format that you get used to. They will have the same timing that you get used to and the same general level of questions. The SAT is quite good on the verbal side. The math, sometimes they throw random things at you, but we, thanks to your studying, are going to get you to the level where even random things, you're used to doing creative math. You're used to using processes that include process of elimination, that include good guessing, that include trial and error, that include back solving. Those things still get you to right answers even when you actually don't know the math. So I don't want anyone to feel they are a victim. To some extent, your knowledge of the test will let you see that, I know I'm not so good at this type of question, but it only shows up twice on the whole test. And you can manipulate the doing of the test. You can skip over those two questions when they arrive. You get to the other questions. You do them with surety. You get them right. Guess the two questions that you are not so good at, and you could still have a really top-tier score. To you, who begin to know the test and know yourself on the test, the SAT is not going to be a tricky test. In fact, I don't even like that word. Tricky implies something really mean, diabolical. And the SAT used to be this way. This is like 30 years ago, though, where they would steer you one way only to have it be a wrong answer. I don't think the SAT does that. You might steer yourself onto the rocks. You may come up with an answer and there is a tempting but wrong answer there for you. But you made the mistake. The SAT didn't push you there. So I don't call it a tricky test. There are, however, tricks for getting through the test well, and that's what you're embarking on even today. All right, number two, as a barrier, you aren't sure of the rules. Ladies and gentlemen, that ends today or within 24 hours of starting your homework, because some of the homework we're assigning asks you to learn the rules now and well, and never have to look at those rules again because they don't change. Just like the SAT content is not dramatically changing, their rules won't either. So on test day, we even say this in the binder, do you need to read directions carefully? No, you don't, because the directions are going to be the same that you've gotten used to. And you might as well skip the rules on the test, get into the first question. Other kids might be plotting 45, 60 seconds of their time spent on rules while you are on question 3 before they get to question 1. Now, the rules of guessing, once were intricate. Now it's a no-brainer. You might as well guess. You cannot be hurt by a wrong answer. If you are taking the subject test, though, there still is a deduction for wrong answers. Our strategy, though, is the same. I want you to guess. And I want you to guess even though it's a quarter point off if you get it wrong. But that's because if you get it right, it's a full point up. The rightness is quadruple the value of the negative for wrongness. And on a 5-answer choice set, that's what you get on the subject test, A, B, C, D, E, even random guessing is unlikely to hurt you. Here's an example. If you randomly guess, let's say you were running out of time. On the last 5 questions, you didn't have time to do any of them. You put something down, A, B, B, C, A. The likelihood of those 5, the result should be, probability says, you will get one of those 5 right and the other 4 wrong. And look what happens. You lose a quarter, 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 quarter. 4 quarters, you lose a full point for those 4 that beat you, but you get a full point up for the one that you happen to guess right. That's a wash. That's no better than having left those 5 questions blank. But let's say you are intelligent guessing, not random guessing. Let's say you know it's a math subject test, and it's math, the problem, you know this, it's got to be a negative number. Positive numbers, there are 2 of the 5 answers are positives. You get rid of them. Now you're left with 3. There's 2 bad guys and 1 good guy. The bad guys hurt you by a quarter point if you hit them. The good guy helps you by a full point. Over the course of 3 questions like that, you are probably picking up a half point. Lose quarter, gain full. That's like minting extra points, okay? If casinos offered the kind of proposition, $100 at this table in the back room when a wheel randomly lands on you, and it only lands on you a third of the time. 2/3 of the time, that wheel's going to stop on casino, and you have to pay them, but only $25. Is this a good game to be playing over and over again? Yes, you will help finance college, because for every 3 spins of that wheel, you'll be minting $50 in your pocket. The SAT subject tests are giving you that proposition. So guess, it makes sense. Now to the final barrier, it's called you're scared of running out of time. I don't want you to be scared of it, even if running out of time after all the study could be a reality. Sometimes we have students who know that in section 4, I just don't get to all 38 questions. I'm likely to get 36 of them. Well, if you do the 36 well, miss only 1 of those, and even if you go 0 for 2 on the guesses for the other 2, you're still going to be in the 700s when you take your math test. So please don't be afraid of running out of time. Through practice testing, we think you will get to how you maximize your time, get to the most questions right that you can. And one of those ways is to minimize the number of times you look at your clock. I want students looking at the wall clock no more than 3 times in a section. The first time will be when you've done half of the section. If it's the grammar section where there's 4 parts, after you've done 2 of them, you then see, am I on pace? It's a 35-minute section. Have I used 18 or fewer minutes? That's good. If I've used more, I may have to turn on the jets for these next 2 sections. If I've used less, then wow, good. I've got some time to spare. You'll look at your clock again when you're turning to the last set of questions. In grammar, it's a nice, neat 11-question set. In reading comp, there are 5 sets. When you turn to the last set, there's going to be 10 or 11 questions there. That's when you look at the clock. And in math, when you're about to turn to the final 2 pages, those are typically 5, 6, maybe 7 grid-in questions, and you can apportion your time from there. The only other time you're going to look at your watch is if you finish early. And then I want you to look to see, how much time do I still have? If it's only 20 seconds left and the section's going to end, I may as well put down my pencil, chill out. If I've got a substantial amount of time, 30 seconds or more, I'm going to go and look to any question that I put a G for guess. Something that I might, in those 30 or more seconds, rectify, because I wasn't sure when I was doing number 14, and now I got a chance to get a re-look. That's good time management. Now, let me give you 2 hints for saving time. It's near the bottom of our barriers page. Number one is called block bubbling. Block bubbling means you will, in your booklet, put down a circle around the answers. Hopefully in the process, you also eliminate the wrong answers, 3 kills. And only after you've done 2 pages worth do you then transfer to the bubble-in sheet. But here's why it's a time saver. Because instead of going one question that you work on, find it on the bubble sheet, and fill it in, you're doing 7 or 8 questions. You're doing a left page and a right page. And then before turning to the next 2 pages, that's when you go to the bubble sheet. You'll go a little faster that way. It'll be 1, T, 2, C, 3, C, 4, A. And it's about that fast. That's like 1.5, 2 seconds per bubble because of another time saver. You are not going to meticulously bubble every little piece of territory, okay? When you've got a circle or an oval to fill, all you need is the pupil of an eye. Iris of the eye is a little safer, but when you've got an oval or a circle to fill, you don't need to fill more than 1/3 of it, okay? It just has to have a decent amount of graphite or number 2 lead in the right place. So somebody who is, let's say here's your oval. You'd love choice C, and in the process, you're creating art. You don't miss a spot. Ooh. You're spending 12 seconds doing a darn bubble. How about 2 seconds? That's all you need, okay? That's it. Don't worry about stray marks. If you went a little outside there, you can leave it alone. You don't have to erase it. The only stray mark that would hurt you, you'd have to be really spastic. You wanted B, and you accidentally went into A. I don't think that's going to happen. So that is, for some people, a significant time saver. 2 seconds versus maybe 12 seconds times 100+ questions. That really is a significant time saver. All right, the final thing we talk about is saving time by not always using your calculator. Yes, the calculator is an impediment on, we think, a majority of the questions in Section 4. Section 3, you can't use a calculator. It's the no calculator section. Section 4, with 38 questions, allows a calculator. We encourage 5 to 10 times, okay, at most 15, because the SAT is still largely made in the mode where they're asking questions that are best done by, well, the greatest calculator ever invented, the human brain. Without the calculator itself, your brain is better at seeing patterns. Your brain might be less careless than punching something in and trusting a number. So we'll show you when we think calculators are important, but I don't want anyone to expect, oh, I need this for 38 out of 38 questions. Minimize the use of the calculator, maximize your score. All right, we're about maximizing score, and since you've been with me this long, let me just make sure, if you haven't seen how we do homework, hang in there for one more minute. Home study is assigned for our students, ACT or SAT. Those of you who are doing SAT verbal, you have sheets that are in the front of your binder with columns. We'd like you to do everything assigned in the columns, at least 2 of the 3 columns, and you use the official SAT study guide for that. So it looks something like this. Lesson 1, columns as well. That's the math set. And on the math, we do divide these columns into easy, medium, and hard. The medium always has the most number of questions, and we're asking you again to do just 2 of the 3 columns. You're either doing medium and hard. If you're already a strong student, 650 plus math score, I want you digging in on the hardest questions. If you're not a strong student at math yet, you haven't yet gotten into the 600s, don't do the hard yet. Do the medium and the easy. Work on those first. All questions deserve to be reviewed. The answers are at the back of the test, and there are explanations that follow. Now, the book's explanations are sometimes a little hard to follow, And in case you want a human, you're entitled, if you're an Ivy-bound student, to have the human on Zoom conferences, sometimes known as Helpline. And up there is the number that a lot of you've seen, our conference code for the rest of the semester. You'd be calling in. Really, you're not calling anymore. You're Zooming in. There's a phone version, but most people just jump online, zoom.us, the code number 531-623-5029. When do we do this? 9:15 Eastern in the evenings, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Yes, even on Thanksgiving Thursday. We are there with a human to help. And there are other kids who are going to join. You're not the only student, but all Ivy-bound students are using the same book. We're invoking the same strategies, and therefore it's worth listening to other kids' questions, okay? They've got questions. The explanation hopefully reinforces things for you as well. So please make it an effort this first week that you do the home study. For those that you either got wrong or guessed and happened to get right, please let us help you out if you still don't understand from the explanations. By the way, we want to see which you got wrong, which you guessed at, and which you got right. So you'll be showing us, either your tutor or in class, you'll be holding up and you'll show the markup of which questions on the column you got right, which you got wrong. You'd use a check, you'd use an X, and if you guessed, put a G. A G means guess, and it means I still got to review this because I don't want to just luck into a right answer. I want to be getting right answers. Your process of mastering the SAT makes this course maybe the single most important class you will ever take. The consequences for getting into certain colleges are hugely impacted by the SAT. The scholarships available from many colleges that'll save you or your parents a lot of money are greatly influenced by the SAT. So thank you for taking this seriously. I really applaud your upcoming diligence, and we look forward to hearing really good scores.